Hi, as you can see on the canvas, it's a simple table visual which has date and total sightings, nothing complicated. So we have used the date and also the total sightings. So that way we have those things appear in the table visual. We can sort by date or sort by total sightings. We can see that on November 7th, 2015, there were 238 sightings. So I was just thinking, for example, what if you want to see, say already know the sightings, right? The maximum were 238 and minimum could be 1 or 2 or whatever. So what if you want to see this in this range, say if you have a question that, hey, I want to see the sightings between 70 and 125, is it possible? Similarly, if you have another question that, hey, you want to see sightings from within the range of say 60 and say 120 or 89 or whatever. So is it possible? Is it possible to get something on the visual so that we can see, select that particular range, and is it possible for us to see the visual? I think it should be possible because we have a feature in Power BI. I think they have recently, probably within a year or so, last 1 year, they have released that, which is called as a parameter. So by going to modeling, we can use that. So let me explain briefly what I mean by that. So for example, if you have, say if you want to see from say range 1 to say 30 or 300, so you want to see the number of sightings within that range and you want to see the dates. Is it possible? It could be 30, 300 or whatever. So we are trying to build that. So let us see what are the steps which are involved to build that, so that particular range slicer is available to the user, and user can enter those minimum and maximum numbers in that range, so that the visual will change according to that selection. So like I said, we can go to modeling, and in modeling, if you click on modeling and go to parameters, new parameter, and click on the numeric, because we want the numeric range, right? So numeric range. So numeric range, a new window will open up. You can name the parameter in whatever fashion you want. Let us rename that. And there are a lot of options. If you can see, there is a minimum, a maximum, increment, and default. And also on the bottom, if you see, there is a option checked out which is called as add slicer to this page. That is exactly what we want, right? So let us give the minimum and maximum 250, and its increment is by 1. Let us keep that, and let us keep the default as 3. So it doesn't matter. Once you create this, two things will happen. There is a range which is coming, slicer which is going to come onto your canvas, that is created automatically because we have checked that option. And also on the right in the data section, there is a table created for you which has these range values. In our case, we have created a range, min and max, and also it will create a measure for you within that table itself. So if you're following along, if you create it, you will see those two things in the table visual, in the data section in the table. So you can click on the table and look at the table view. You can see that range, and also if you expand that sightings, you can see the measure which is there, right? So we will use that measure in our calculations. So like I said, if you go to the table and see that, click on the sightings range parameter, you can see the range, whatever range we have given, that is up to us. We gave from 1 to 250, so that range is appearing. So let us next is that look and feel things, right? We will try to adjust the slicer range parameter slicer, and try to keep it in such a fashion that it will be it will look good on the visual. So let us go ahead and do that. Let us resize it and align it properly. I mean, this is like I said in the previous, sometimes in a couple of videos back, I said sometimes these kind of things look laborious, but once we do that, it's kind of becomes second nature for us. We can try to make sure that the visual, the report page looks good with all the visuals aligned properly. So that is there, and I quickly changed some settings. I made it between, and I removed the slider, unchecked that, so that you have those. If user wants to enter some values 1 to 250. Those values are there by default because that is the range we have selected. And next is that we have to create a measure because we want to pick up the minimum value and maximum value from the slicer, and also whenever they enter any kind of other min and max values user, those values also should be picked up. So this will be a little bit not too complicated measure, but it should be easy. Let me go ahead and add that measure here. So we'll break it down, right? There are a couple of things here. So we are using the variable var keyword, and we are passing min and max of the slicing range parameter. So that is what we have created. We want to use those values, and we want to return. What do we want to return? The expression in the calculate function is total sightings, and we want to filter the values of the calendar table. We got so that we get the unique dates, and we want the condition, right? We have that minimum and maximum. So we will try to make sure that the total sightings is greater than minimum sightings, and total sightings and is less than or equal to max sightings. So if that condition is matched, only those values are entered. So this is kind of a dynamic user interactive kind of feature, so that whenever the user selects those values based on those values selection, the visuals on the bottom will change. So like I said, you can pause the video and look at it. It's a very simple thing. You can easily understand, not much complication. So let us close that. Once you commit that, measure is going to be there. Now suppose if now that the measure we created, what if we go into that sightings range parameter and change those values? Is there any difference in the visual? I don't see any change because we did not add the new measure which we just created, right? It is the total sightings measure which is still there in the table visual. So let us try to fix that. Let us try to replace that total sightings with the sightings in the range measure which we just created. Once we do that, that way there's a correction between the slicer and the table. So now if you make any selections, right, if you make say 25 to 50 range, only those values will be shown in the visual. This is exactly, I think, working perfectly. This is exactly what we wanted. So you can make change. You can make changes to the title on the sighting range parameter, and also you can advise the user to use within that range 1 to 250, so that the upper range max also is known to the user. So you can make all those changes, play around with min and max, and make sure that the visual is working according to your selections. So I think that is the first step which we have done. I think the visual is working perfectly. So now that we have that area in the canvas, so what we could do is we could always go back and create another visual out of the one which we have. So copy that visual, table visual, and paste it on the empty area in the canvas, and make sure that it is filled out, and try to resize it. Once we resize it, and we'll try to convert this visual into something else. I was thinking about maybe Treemap should be good, so that the dates will be available there. So let us try to look for the Treemap. Here it is. Once we click on Treemap, this visual is converted to Treemap. Great. But right away we can see that it's all crowded, because this is picking up all the dates, all the values, right? So this is kind of too much. Visually it is not looking good. So let us try to fix that. Let us go to filters. Let us try to use a top N. Some of you might have seen, might have already used. It's a very simple thing. We want to create a visual level filter. So what we can do is go to date, and from base, instead of basic, go to top N. So let us try to have top 10 values. So that way we have those 10 values appearing there. Let us this step is, sometimes we make mistakes. That is what we are trying to demonstrate. So suppose we drag the total sightings, right? So it needs a value. So we'll drag total sightings instead of sightings measure that we have created a while ago. So if you drag total sightings and apply, and yes, visual looks good, but we know that this is not the correct thing, because the range, if the range is changed, the values will change, but those are not according to the slicer window measure which we have created, right? So it looks different. You want only the sightings between 50 and 100, but obviously still the measure is showing blank, but even then it is not going to show you the correct values. So let us try to fix it. Let us try to create make the value as sightings in the selected range measure. So now I think it looks good, right? 50 to 100, it looks good. You have 89 on the left, 728 date, and the data labels are also there on the tree map. I think this looks according to whatever we thought of, right? We wanted to show whenever a user is entering those range values, we want both the visuals, the table visual and the tree map visual, to change. I think this is working perfectly as desired. And I always suggest that you, by look and feel, you can make all those changes whatever fashion you want. You can replace this tree map with something else too. So that way, based on the needs, you can make changes. But the whole idea is that in case if somebody you want to give some kind of range to the user, you have done that exactly. Let us rename, do all those small things, rename the page into whatever you want to, so that way it makes sense. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.